my father announced with a cold tone. Your brother is receiving your portion of the trust fund. You've always been healthy, so you don't need it. I sat in the lawyer's office, gripping the leather chair's armrests so tightly that my knuckles turned white. His words lingered ominously in the air, making it hard for me to breathe. Across from me, my brother Jason laughed, an unsettling, cruel laugh that churned my stomach. Finally, some justice, he said with a grin, as if he had just hit the jackpot. I am Clara, 32 years old, working as a financial consultant in Memphis, Tennessee. For the past 4 years, I'd poured all my resources into saving my brother's life. $200,000. Every bonus, every saved dollar, every sacrifice was directed toward his cancer treatments. I depleted my savings, took out loans, and worked extra hours until I was completely drained. I did it because he was my brother and I believed family matters, thinking that love and sacrifice would hold weight. Yet here I was, watching him reveling in my misfortune, realizing I had become simply a source of funds for him. 3 months after our grandmother's passing, her will was finally being read. She had established equal trust funds for Jason and me as a safety net, which I had never accessed during his illness. Every cent I spent on his treatments came from my own resources. Yet my parents seemed to dismiss that entirely. My mother, in her gentle tone, affirmed that the trust fund would help Jason rebuild his life, implying my struggles were insignificant. I looked at her, this woman who raised me, but in that moment she felt like a stranger. My father agreed, suggesting I'd be fine without the trust fund since I had a career. Jason leaned back in his chair, smirking, and told me not to be selfish, recalling how he nearly died. The lawyer, Mr. Patterson, looked uneasy but remained silent, bound by my father's authority over the estate. I inhaled deeply, feeling the exhaustion of 4 years' worth of sacrifices crashing down on me. It became clear to me. They wouldn't change their minds, they wouldn't acknowledge the injustice. They had made their decision, leaving me with nothing. Okay, I finally replied calmly. But let me make a call first. My father frowned, questioning why I would call now. I pulled out my phone, coolly scrolling through contacts, desperate to reclaim a piece of my life. This will only take a moment, I stated before hitting dial. The phone rang twice before a crisp voice answered. Albert speaking. I put the call on speaker. Albert, it's Clara, I said. I need you. It's time. My family stared at me, confusion peppering their faces. Understood, Albert replied professionally. I have everything ready. Should I proceed with filing the paperwork? Yes, I affirmed, casting a determined look at my father. File everything. I want this done correctly. Jason interrupted, demanding to know who Albert was, and I couldn't help but smirk as I revealed. Albert is one of the top lawyers in Memphis, and he's been assisting me with something significant. My parents were alarmed. My mother raised her voice, questioning what I meant. You'll find out soon enough, I assured her before telling Albert to send the documents to Mr. Patterson's office so everyone could see them. Silence enveloped the room save for the air conditioning's hum. Mr. Patterson looked pale, my parents confused, and Jason's expression turned from smug to uncertain. What did you just do? My father growled. I stood up, collecting my belongings. I made sure true justice is served, the real kind, not your twisted version. The week before that moment, I had been rummaging through my grandmother's old letters, feeling their significance weigh on me. She was meticulous, keeping thorough records, a legacy that would reveal the truth about the trust funds. I discovered she hadn't intended for US to have equal shares but rather to distribute according to contributions to family welfare. My father, as the estate executive, had chosen to disregard her wishes. My upbringing had been standard for a middle-class family. I grew up with financial stability, with my father running an accounting firm. But somehow, Jason had always been the favored child. His struggles perceived as delicate sensibilities needing protection, while my own accomplishments were deemed sufficient proof I could handle anything alone. When Jason was diagnosed with leukemia, our family rallied around him, which I soon learned meant donating money in my case. My parents urged me to cover treatment costs. Despite my hesitations, I complied without resistance. Every treatment's increasing costs layered upon my responsibility like an avalanche. "Clara, the insurance won't cover this treatment," my mother had insisted. "You can save his life." I had agreed, pouring money into Jason's care. Yet they didn't view my sacrifices as noble. To them, it was merely my duty. When I later discussed with him the idea of being repaid, he laughed, insisting I should do it simply because I was his sister. I quietly documented every transaction, every medical bill, and every investment in his welfare, hoping that one day my family would recognize the lengths I'd gone to. At one point, I reached out to Albert to seek legal advice, who informed me my grandmother had left behind very specific criteria regarding her estate's distribution. It became clear that under my grandmother's own standards, I was the most deserving beneficiary. Conceiving of taking the entire trust felt wrong, but after years of constant exploitation, I resolved to pursue it. "Fairness is getting what you deserve after years of being taken for granted," Albert had advised. Now, in the lawyer's office, I looked at my family as they processed this new information, a mix of disbelief and something like dread washing over them. "You're bluffing," Jason asserted weakly. "You can't just take the trust fund." "I'm not taking it. I'm claiming what Grandma intended for me." In the courtroom, I felt exalted as Albert presented the recordings that would shatter their facade. The tapes echoed my family's disregard for my sacrifices. Each one demonstrated how they dismissed my contributions, reinforcing their exploitation. The judge recognized the emotional toll and decided in my favor, awarding me not only the trust fund but also a sum to be repaid, holding my parents accountable for their actions. My life unraveled further as my family faced the consequences of their choices. The truth had surfaced. I could finally reclaim my narrative. I spent the following months helping others escape familial exploitation through a foundation I started. 5 years later, I reveled in my new life, surrounded by chosen family who celebrated me for who I was. I learned not just to survive but to flourish, finding peace in moving forward and constructing a life filled with genuine connections. Eventually, my parents and brother remained ensnared in their own misconceptions, while I soared in the freedom of my own success, a life that thrived beyond their grasp.